Chapter 10. Smoking. "I didn't take your cigarettes!" Don't worry, I don't actually yell that. I only want to. Instead, I quickly crawl into some bushes and lie down behind a log to hide. That log is rotten and full of bugs, but I don't dare move, even after some uncomfortable dampness seeps into my shorts. The bushes are thick and the voices are pretty far away. Since they're such dorks, I hope they can't see me through the leaves. But my shirt is yellow, even though it's dirty from being on the trail. My backpack is hot pink, and their blanket is a hideous red and orange plaid. All the green and brown leaves are totally defeated by those brighter colors. Why didn't I get that boring brown backpack Mom liked because it had lots of practical pockets and was on sale? I decide to do a better job of hiding, so I cover myself up with dead leaves. Unfortunately, Arp digs up my legs as fast as I bury them. "Stop it," I hiss at him. "You're not being very loyal." He whimpers and lies down. The next clump of leaves I pick up is gross and wet with actual worms crawling all in it. When those slimy worms touch my leg, it takes every ounce of my strength not to scream. Meanwhile, the dorks crash around calling, "Wild girl!" and "Lost girl!" Then, as they get madder, they change "Lost girl" to "loser," which I really don't like. Sometimes they say, "Give us back those cigarettes, or we'll smoke you." I know they can't actually smoke me, but they're getting very angry. I don't know what to do. Now would be a good time for the helicopter to come back. Or maybe those little woodland creatures, the chipmunks and rabbits, could all come together to defend me just like I defended them by not letting Arp catch any of them. Or maybe I should just give back the cigarettes and say it was all a big mistake. I only took their stuff by accident because their blanket looked exactly like a blanket I once had, or something like that. Then I apologize. They'll let me get back to my hiking. No harm done, right? The voices get closer and closer. I grab Arp so he won't bark at them. Then I hear somebody shout, "What do you kids think you're doing?" "It's Trailblaze Betty." There's silence. Then there's a sniggery laugh. "You won't be laughing when I call the state patrol," she says. "What for?" Joey says. "I warned you if I ever caught you good-for-nothing kids messing around on my property again, I'd call the state patrol," Trailblaze Betty says. "But we're miles away from your stupid shelter," Blondie says. "This is my property. The entire Appalachian Trail belongs to the hikers, and I am a hiker," Trailblaze Betty says. "We aren't messing around. We're chasing a thief," Joey says. "This runaway girl stole our stuff. We're only trying to get it back," Boston Red Sox shirt says. "You should be yelling at her, not us," Trucker Cap says. There's another silence, and I think, uh-oh, what if she listens to them? Then Trailblaze Betty says, "Don't tell me who to yell at. I yell at anybody I want, especially people who throw trash everywhere and don't respect the trail or themselves." I'm glad she's mad at them. Then I start wondering if she's also mad at me. Why else would she be here? Did she watch the TV news and find out that my parents didn't say I could hike the trail? I slither down deeper in the slime and the gooshy leaves. "Now go on home," Trailblaze Betty says. "What about my cigarettes?" Joey says. "You kids shouldn't be smoking," Trailblaze Betty says. "We aren't. We're just bringing them to Joey's mom," Blondie says. "I'm sick of your lies. Now get! Don't make me tell you again," Trailblaze Betty shouts. They mumble and grumble, but they leave. I stay hidden long after their voices fade. The dorks are gone, but I'm just as afraid of Trailblaze Betty. She's probably sick of my lies, too. After all, I lied about my family, and I ate all 8 brownies, and littered. The trail found out the truth about me and told her. She probably even knows I almost killed a 100-year-old maple. "Girl, you there? Girl," she says. I'm afraid to breathe. "You find the spring, girl?" I hold Arp's mouth shut. "Okay, girl, you got to do what you got to do," she says. I have no idea what that means, but I'm scared to ask her. I hear her go along the trail back toward her place. She whistles "Home on the Range" as she walks. Or maybe it's the Star-Spangled Banner. I can't tell. She's such a terrible whistler. I wait a little bit longer. When I can't hear any more, I let go of Arp. While he rolls around in the dirt, I get up from my hiding place and sit on a rock. I'm a mess. Slimy leaves are stuck to my legs. I peel them off. The mud is still there. I just sit there staring at my filthy legs. I probably should go back to the spring and get water to clean them, but I don't. Everything seems stupid. Especially hiking. I mean, I know I shouldn't pay any attention to what those dorks said, but they weren't exactly impressed by what I'm doing. I unwrap the blanket and peek inside the paper bag. There's a half-empty bag of potato chips. I give a few to Arp, but I don't even feel like eating them. At the bottom of the paper bag is the pack of cigarettes. I pick it up and rub my thumb along the sharp edge of the box. Then I open the box and rub my thumb over the tops of the cigarettes. There are 7 of them. A book of matches is stuck inside the box. I take it out. There are 16 matches. After I light one of the matches, there are 15 left. And after I take a cigarette out of the pack and light it with the burning match, there are 6 left. Lucy would hate what I'm doing. After Allison got cancer, we despised the smokers we saw on the street. They should have been going to doctors and having horrible treatments that made their hair fall out. But they weren't. They were walking around puffing on their cigarettes, polluting the air. But Lucy won't know if I'm smoking. Lucy isn't here. Lucy didn't come with me this summer. Maybe Ginya is right. Maybe Lucy thinks I'm a whining loser and she doesn't care what I do anymore. I get so depressed that I actually take a puff. Then I nearly die. Here's something you probably don't know if you're a kid like me. Cigarettes taste bad. I don't mean a little bad, like a marshmallow that fell off your stick and into the ashes, which you eat anyways because it was the last one in the package. Cigarettes taste so bad, there's no way to describe it. It isn't like a flavor. It isn't even a taste. It's a bad tasting feeling. I have no idea why people smoke, except that maybe cigarettes taste so awful that people have to feel better when they stop. Only that doesn't work. Even after I take the cigarette out of my mouth, Arp has wolfed down the rest of the potato chips. My hike is still stupid, and Lucy still doesn't care about me. So I just sit there, watching the glowing, red-hot part of the cigarette creep closer and closer to my fingers. Pretty soon I can feel its heat. That makes me nervous about getting burnt, so I accidentally drop it on the dead leaves. I quickly jump up to stomp it out before it starts a whole big forest fire. Then I jump up and down saying, "Fire! Fire! Fire!" Not because there is one or anything, but because there could be one. In other words, I can make a fire. When he sees me get excited, Arp barks. We both jump around until we fall down exhausted. I give Arp a big hug. Isn't it great, Arp? We have a blanket and matches. We don't need to worry about finding another shelter. We can make a real campsite wherever we want. I cram the blanket in my pack. I put the precious matches in my pocket, and we start off again. The ideal campsite should be by a little babbling brook and kind of in the open, but still surrounded by nice trees. It should be on a hill with a view of a valley and flowers nearby. And campers that were there before should have accidentally left a big picnic basket full of sandwiches and cookies. Oh, and dog food. When he hears dog food, Arp barks and looks up at me like, "Where is it?" "No, Arp, we don't have any. I'm just hoping that we'll find some dog food." Arp barks again. "What are you complaining for? You ate all the potato chips. You shouldn't want any dog food." Arp barks again. I sigh. Talking to a dog can be challenging, no matter how loyal he is. Never mind. Let's go find our campsite. We walk and walk. We walk through the late afternoon when the flies are bad. We walk in the early evening when the mosquitoes are bad. Isn't it nice how they take turns annoying me? We don't find the ideal campsite. In fact, we don't find a campsite that has even one of the requirements. But we're getting tired and hungry. When the dark creeps out from the trees again, I get nervous. Sometimes you can't wait for the ideal place. Sometimes you just have to make the best of what you've got. I stop where a dead tree stretches out of the woods across a grassy place. "What about this spot, Arp?" "Hey, maybe that tree could be a bench for me to sit on." Arp doesn't say what he thinks of my idea in actual words. He trots right over it and pees on the tree. Luckily, it's a very long tree, so that wet spot doesn't have to be part of the bench. I go off in the bushes. I'm getting better at finding bathrooms now. I've learned to avoid places with lots of sharp branches. We're both starving, but I decide to make a fire before we eat. Maybe the peanut butter sandwiches will taste better toasted. I find 3 short logs and stack them like logs always are in pictures of fireplaces. "Stand back, loyal dog, and watch me make a fire." He doesn't move, but I figure when the big burst of flames leaps up into the sky, he'll get his little butt to safety. I light a match and hold it next to the logs. The match burns down near to my fingers, so I drop it on the logs. The match burns a little longer, and then it goes out. Maybe the wind blew it out? Arp wags his tail. "Stop that, you're making a breeze." I light another match and hold it near the logs. Then I light another, and another. Nothing's happening. I don't get it. I have matches and wood, so why can't I make a fire? I'm hearing that yucky voice again. After all that boasting about making a fire, you can't do it, can you? The sun is setting. The dark will come. That's practically the only thing I can be certain about. That the earth will keep turning on its axis. The earth won't wait until the fire is a cheerful blaze. The earth will just spin us right into the pitch-black night. I light another match. It burns out. Now there are only 10 left. Who cares about a fire anyway? It's not like we have hot dogs to cook. I throw the matches at my pack. I kick the biggest log, and I sit down on it and put my head in my hands. Here's the thing. Say you have a terrible day at school and you come home and slam the door and sit on your bed and sulk. Well, so what? Nothing bad will happen. Eventually your mom will call to you and make you eat your dinner. But if I sulk out here in the woods, then Arp and I we'll have a long, cold, dark, miserable night. So even though I don't feel like doing anything, I have to try again. It's getting cold, so I put on the sweatshirt. Then I see that book. Since it's about a boy surviving in the wilderness, maybe it has some good advice for me. I skim the first chapter. It tells how he has a house and a tree and a deerskin blanket and even a fireplace in there, so he's snug and warm in a snowstorm. But it doesn't explain how he made the fire. I flip around and read other parts. Mostly he just blabs on and on about his rabbit fur underwear and gives recipes for making soup out of turtles and jack-in-the-pulpit roots like he's some old lady. Well, I don't have rabbit fur underwear or a fireplace in a tree, and I don't know what jack-in-the-pulpits are. Then the yucky voice says, "You see, he knows how to survive in the woods, but you don't, so you'll never make it." The book makes me so angry that I throw it into the bushes where I went to the bathroom, but I don't care. I'm not going to get it. It's useless. Dad, why did you want me to read about that boy? I start getting a different kind of upset just thinking about my dad. He made a fire in the farmhouse fireplace every rainy night, and since it rained practically all the time, that means he made at least 20 fires. How come you never watched him and learned how to do it, Arp? Arp wags his tail and makes his wrinkled nose smile like he's saying, "Because I'm a dog?" Arp is right, of course. He's a dog, and I'm a girl. I should have paid attention to my dad, but I didn't. Now I start missing him something awful. I miss his goofy smile, and the way his glasses always fall into his dinner plate, and how proud he is of his Vermont beard. I wish he were here to give me a lecture about something. I would listen, especially if it was about how to make a fire. Then I remember. I'm so excited, I tell Arp. Remember the night Dad asked Ginia to bring in the firewood, and she carried in 3 smooth, round logs? Dad asked her why she picked those. She said she didn't want to scratch her arms on the rough, splintery ones. Then Dad had her try to light the fire, only it wouldn't burn, remember? Arp wags his tail. Then Dad told her to go back and get kindling. She said, "Do I have to? Can't Megan do it?" I don't want to remind Arp of what I said, because it wasn't very nice. Those days I was very grumpy about Lucy not being there. Anyway, that doesn't matter now. The point is, Dad brought in kindling and split logs. He put most of it on the side and carefully laid a few little sticks in the fireplace. Then he said, "Remember what a fire is? A fire is a combustion that happens in oxygen. Where is oxygen? In the air. If you try to burn a thick log, not enough oxygen can get to the place of combustion." Then, since he is my dad, he blabbed on and on about how Rome wasn't built in a day, the Sistine Chapel took years to build, and even more years to paint. Naturally, I thought he was nuts. What did the Sistine Chapel have to do with making a fire? But now I understand. You don't build a fire by piling on huge logs. You do it 1 twig at a time. 1 twig at a time, Arp. Go get us some little sticks. Maybe you think dogs are experts at fetching sticks, but Arp only picks up the sticks I find for him, and then he gets them all slobbery and wet, which makes them totally useless. So I have to gather all the wood. Then I crumple up the brown paper bag. I light a match and light the paper. That makes a nice little flame, but I don't stop to admire it. I feed the flame little sticks like it's a baby learning how to eat. And you know what? It works. Then I'm so totally psyched because I did it. I really did. All by myself, without help from anybody. After a few more minutes of piling on bigger and bigger sticks, I've made a huge blaze. That 3 feet of flickering orange heat and light will definitely scare away the bears. And it completely destroys that pack of evil cigarettes. I don't even mind the stink. I'm just glad they're gone. Now Lucy can't be mad at me for having them. My fire is absolutely beautiful. Now I can toast the last 2 peanut butter sandwiches. I stick the bread on long, thin sticks. Arp isn't too happy about the burnt crust, so I give him the nuts from the trail mix and a carrot. We drink some water, then I wrap myself up in a blanket and Arp jumps into my lap. We watch the flames wave as they stand up against the dark sky. I tell you, it's just like TV. No, better than TV, because I made it myself. I draw a picture of the flames dancing along the logs, but that seems too ordinary for how amazing I feel, so I add a few other things, because if I can make something warm and light out of a bunch of dead sticks, then really I can do anything.